What's going on, college football fans, and welcome back to the First and Long College Football Show. You're tuning in to Between the Lines, our weekly best bets for the Week 4 slate of college football here in 2024. I hope y'all are all doing really well tonight, and we've got some good picks for you as far as against the spread. If you are new to this show, this is best bets. So it doesn't have to necessarily be one of the top matchups of the week. It doesn't have to, that we get to go across the board, pick whatever games that we want, and give you our best bet. And we give you a quick little explanation for some of them, or maybe we're just feeling good about them. And we've been on a pretty decent little roll this year. I'm a good bit over 500 for the year. You can go back and check some of our picks and records and all that. We try to keep up with that as best we can. Mason, how are you today, buddy? You ready to give some best bets?
Yeah, I got to give my record out for last week. That's the toughest part of the show for me this week, I think. Last week was not good for me, y'all. I was 8-3, went -5 on the week. That puts me at -3 on the year so far. But it's a new week. It's a clean slate. I'm not basing any of my picks this week off of what I did last week. There's no, some picks could have gone a different way last week for me, but this week it's a clean slate. I'm gonna take the same game plan into this upcoming week here, and hopefully come out on top and get back into the winning column here.
Yeah, for sure. So, what is your overall record, Mason? I'm sorry, I was getting mine ready.
Overall, I am 13 and a half and 16 and a half.
All right, I am 14-7-1 so far this year. So let's get it started, man. We do typically start with our biggest matchups of the week, so we'll kind of go through some of those and see if we got picks on those. Mason, do you got any picks on? Let's go to the big one, Tennessee at Oklahoma. The line was at Tennessee -7, and the over/under was set at 59.5. I'm not sure if that over/under has moved. Do you got a play in this one, Mason?
I do. I've flip flopped on this one. It's so tough, y'all. Thinking about this game, I know that there's a path to victory, and I mentioned it in Tuesday's show for OU. I said, hey, stay away from this. Don't bet it. But I kind of feel like I have to bet it. It's the biggest game of the week, and I do feel pretty confident now that Tennessee covering is the right side of this. Just given, I mean, I know, look, there's a chance I'll lose on this. There's a chance they win by a field goal or something like that. It's a really close game, but I look at what Tennessee is, what they've done so far this season against lesser opponents, lesser than Oklahoma for sure. But I just feel more confident in this Tennessee offense right now versus OU's defense. And really, when you look at it, I think that both of the defenses are probably better than both of the offenses right now. I think OU's defense is probably better than Tennessee's offense, and I think Tennessee's defense is better than OU's offense right now. But if you're telling me to pick, if we're saying that that's a wash, give me Tennessee's offense. Right, give me what I've seen from Nico. I think he's one of the best quarterbacks in the SEC already, and this should be a statement win for him this week. And he can really plant himself in the Heisman race with a big win here. I don't think it's a blowout. I kind of like the under here in a lot of ways too, just because of how good these defenses have played. But to me, let's see, the over/under on this game. I know you said that
56.5 is what it's
okay.
Right now.
Yep. So 56.5. My only concern was with that is, Tennessee could run away with it, right? That they could score 40. And it would not surprise me with the way that this offense is playing and with the way Oklahoma's offense has been playing. If they get behind the sticks and they're not able to extend drives, it's going to put a lot of pressure on their defense. And if that's the case, this thing could snowball out of control for OU, and Tennessee really could win big. But yeah, give me Tennessee. I'm laying the points at 7. I think they can win by a touchdown or more.
I'm really surprised that this line hasn't moved at all this week. I feel like most college football bettors would be betting on Tennessee -7, and typically I try to stay away from where the populace is putting their money, but in this case I'm going to have to go with you on that, and I'm going to have to say Tennessee -7. It's felt right the whole time to me, and I bet this really early in the week at -7 because I thought it would be going up. You know what I mean? Or you know what I mean? I thought it would be going -8, maybe even -9. The over under has moved, so the machine ain't broken, right? So the Vegas is taking bets on it, and they've moved the under down 3 points so far. So yeah, I'm going to go Tennessee -7. I just think overall we know more about Tennessee. I've got more trust in Tennessee's overall roster. There's been a lot of questions for Oklahoma, but I don't think this is going to be a blowout. I've heard a lot of people saying Tennessee's going to run away with this one, and yeah, I could see what you're talking about, Mason. Possibly in the fourth quarter, maybe running away with it a little bit, kind of shoveling some dirt on it, if you know what I mean. We'll see how that kind of plays out at the end of the game, but I like Tennessee -7 as of right now, and but wouldn't be surprised at all if this one did end up being a field goal game. Um, let's keep going through some of these big games. What about USC at Michigan? You got anything on that?
I'm laying the points on this one as well. I got USC at -5. Kind of betting against Alex Orji. It's really fading Alex Orji in this game. I think he struggles to find success in the pass game, leaving the offense for Michigan one dimensional. USC I think is good enough to play the run, and I think that's what they're going to come out and do is test Orji in the pass, and kind of just load the box for the most part, and say, hey, beat us over the top. I think that they match up pretty well with their linebackers, Mason Cobb on Colston Loveland. He's kind of been, he has been Michigan's only past success, I think, this year so far. If Samaj Morgan gets involved, I'll kind of change my thought on Michigan down the road. But so far, he's been a bit of a non-factor. And then too, there's a real chance that Alex Orji gets out there and has 2 turnovers in this game or something like that. And in that case, I really like USC in the points because Miller Moss has protected the football really well this year so far. So give me USC. I'm laying the points again. I'm laying a lot of points this week, which concerns me. But I'm gonna roll. I'm gonna roll with the Trojans. I think that their defense is playing much better, and I think that they could have another strong outing against an offense that has really no identity at this point in the season.
Yeah, yeah, I'm with you on that. I've got USC -5.5. Does that sound right, or do you see a 5 out there?
No, I got it at 5. So
All right, I'll take it at 5 then. Um, Look, I know Michigan's got a decent defense, y'all, but I think USC is a much more well-rounded football team, and I don't think that's some kind of hot take or anything, but you know, USC was missing a leader on defense, and by a leader I mean a defensive coordinator. And Alex Grinch is gone, and I'm of the belief that D'Anton Lynn has got these guys in position, and we've been talking about it pretty much all season. We started the season off not very high on USC at all, thinking that maybe 4 losses, 5 losses this year. And look, that may still be possible. I'm not sure. But USC has exceeded my expectations so far this year. And Michigan has been a lot worse than what I thought that they would be. USC, their biggest issue on offense right now is scoring in the red zone. And Michigan's red zone defense really hasn't even been tested all that much because most of the touchdowns that they've given up have been explosive plays. And USC fits right into that category. I think USC can hit explosive plays and score. Not every single drive. They're not going to beat them 49-0 or something like that. But I could definitely see a world where USC hits a pop play on 4 drives and hits 4 touchdowns and kicks a couple of field goals. and scores in the 30s. Meanwhile, Michigan is not going to score in the 30s. This is an improved Southern Cal D, and if Michigan couldn't get anything going against Texas, then I don't think they're going to be able to get anything going here against USC either. So give me USC, and I think that is one of my locks of the week right there. I feel like people are still hesitant to, fade Michigan, and I don't get it. I don't understand why we're still hesitant to fade Michigan at this point. That doesn't make any sense to me. Utah at Oklahoma State. Do you have a play on that one?
I am taking Utah. This line has been just flip flopping. I mean, um, stories have come out that Cam Rising is practicing. The question right now isn't whether or not he plays; it's whether or not he plays with a glove on his hand. It sounds like we do know it was confirmed that it was a laceration on his hand that required stitches, which is what we presumed, and then also a dislocated finger or something like that. And so it sounds like he's ready to go. It sounds like they could have used him last week if needed. So to me, I mean that's kind of the game here. I'm betting not just for Utah to win. I'm betting that Cam Rising is going to play and play at least at 80% of what he has been. And I think that if he's able to play at 80% with this Utah defense, there's not many teams in the Big 12 that can beat Utah. Not many on their schedule at least. Maybe Kansas State as they're kind of rolling right now. But to me, it's as simple as if Cam Rising plays in this game and plays at near capacity, nearly 100%. I think Utah wins this game and pretty handedly. I do. I really feel like they're going to win by at least a touchdown.
Yeah, well, I felt good enough to take Utah whenever they were favored by 2. So it's pretty obvious that I'll be taking. I bet that line, and just I was thinking there. I mean, how do you figure that the line would sway this much? 5 points in 2 days. I placed that bet 2 days ago, and had a commenter on the channel commented, and whenever we put our Utah and Oklahoma State video out, and they said, "You've got the lines mixed up." And so I went back and I was like, surely I didn't do that. And then I looked back on my bets, my pending bets. No, I had it right. There's been a 5-point swing since the 17th of September here. That's 2 days if I'm counting correctly. So
well, really just since yesterday. I mean, even yesterday, Utah was favored. I think it was 1.5 if I'm not mistaken. But yeah, it's kind of flip flopping. And I thought kind of probably what you were thinking as Cam Rising kind of showed up in practice, the line would go towards Utah, and for whatever reason, it flipped the other way. That concerns me a little bit, but I feel pretty confident that Cam Rising's playing and Utah's going to win. So,
yeah. Well, one thing that I have heard, and this is also from a commenter on the channel, is that Kareem Reed is not going to be able to go for Utah. That's the senior linebacker. That's been there a while. He had 67 tackles last year, four pass deflections, and back in 2022 he had 5 sacks in 22. So a guy that's definitely a leader on the defense. I'm not sure that you can point to that as your line movement there, but I'm taking Utah +2. And look, I'm going to tell you guys, anybody that follows the show, if you're betting some of these bets, just understand that if you take a Utah bet, you don't know what you're going to get out of Cam Rising. I mean, I'm just being honest. I mean, he might not play, and he's supposed to play. I know you. I heard the same thing you heard, Mason, but that don't make a damn bit of difference with this guy. I swear. You might just get him for a half. Maybe you want to go bet the first half on this game. I don't know. But I'm going to put it all out there one more time, Mason. I'm going to put it all out there, and in light of the linebacker not starting, and just the fact that I think these two offenses are going to pop. Oklahoma State doesn't have much of a defense. I'm also going to take the over 52.5 in this one. So Utah +2, over 52.5 in that one. All right. So we've covered Utah, Oklahoma State, Tennessee at Oklahoma, USC at Michigan. What about NC State at Clemson, Mason? Do you got a play on that one? That line has moved a lot too in favor of Clemson. When we talked about that earlier this week, it was 16 points in favor of Clemson, and it looks like now we're at, now we're at 20. So you got a play on that one?
I don't. I'm staying away from this. The line's just crept up too much for me to bet for Clemson to cover. It's too many points to lay. But I like what I saw from Clemson in the App State game, and maybe that's just App State playing bad defense. Maybe they're not that good on defense this year. That's very possible. But I'm not gonna. I'm not gonna. I haven't seen enough of Clemson's offense to say that they're good or bad, that they've gotten better or not. And then also on the flip side, NC State's defense is supposed to be really good. They've played really good in years past, and they're kind of. I think I heard earlier in the week that they're a proud bunch, and that just makes a lot of sense. They statistically or in years past have been a really good defense, and they lost a lot, but I'm a little bit worried that NC State is going to show up for this game on defense and play Clemson pretty close. So I don't want to lay the points with Clemson, but then I'm also looking at the Clemson offense and thinking they found something in Bryant Wesco. Maybe they're able to connect with him a pretty good bit in this game, and they do end up covering. So to me, it's a stay away game, and I'm not comfortable betting the over under either.
I mean, there might be some quit in this team. I don't know. I mean, I know they're a prideful group or whatever, both of these programs, and I know they don't like each other, and that makes me want to stay away from it as well. But I had NC State plus 20 circled, and I was going to give them one last go round this week and see if I could maybe try to ride that wagon one more time, ride that bull one more time before he bucked me off. But I'm gonna let that dog lie. There ain't no sense in. Look, we don't know what's up with C.J. Bailey, man. I mean, you want to take a flyer on a first-time starter against Clemson's defense? I don't think so.
Yeah,
not me. You guys in the audience there, comment and let us know what games you're betting on this weekend. I'd like to hear from you guys. And this slate, I thought last week was hard, but this slate was pretty hard too. Pretty slim pickings, I feel like. Illinois at Nebraska. Do you got any pushes on that, Mason? Any kind of leans or best bets there?
Yeah, I was really hoping this number would get down to a 6.5, but it looks like it's kind of hovered right at 7.5. That's what I betted on today. I'm laying the points once again with Nebraska. Give me the home team in this matchup. Look, as good as Luke Altmaier has been, and he has been pretty good, you go back to the Kansas game, and he struggled. I mean, he didn't turn the ball over, which is good, but he didn't have any touchdowns either. I mean, when you look at Illinois, they really won that game on 3 turnovers, one of them being a pick 6. So, to me, I like Nebraska. I think that they've had a really strong defensive showing so far. They've got 9 sacks on the season already. And, I feel like them at home in a home environment on a Friday night, it's going to be a ruckus environment. And I think that Nebraska is going to be able to take care of business in this one. I think Luke Altmaier's interception or lack of interceptions ends on Friday night, tomorrow night, and I think that Nebraska is going to be able to get some turnovers. That's only going to help them. I think that even without turnovers in this game, I think they can cover the 7.5. But the only concern I think for me is the Illinois offensive line. They've got 2 really good tackles. They're the best that Nebraska has seen yet. A lot of those sacks that Nebraska had, if you'll remember, came from Colorado, and we know how bad their offensive line is. So that's kind of the matchup to watch. I want to see what this defensive line for Nebraska can do against a pretty good Brett Bielema offensive line. And but nonetheless, even with any sort of struggles on the D line, I think that Nebraska is still just a superior team at this point. And Illinois is kind of riding a hot streak right now.
Do you have any idea what the over-under on that is? I was just curious. I know it was at 46.5. I was just,
Yep. Give me 1 second. It is 42 and a half.
oh boy, that's went way down.
Yeah, it's low.
Yeah, it's going to be a low scoring one. I mean, that was kind of my point of bringing it up. I was, if it was going to be hovering around 46, I was going to take the under, but 42.5.
Well, just for bettors out there, 60% of the money's coming in on Illinois to cover, and 57% is going towards the over in this game at 42 and a half.
Yeah, yeah. Well, yeah, I don't know. The trendy pick this week has been Illinois. I know that. I've heard a million people talk about it. I guarantee you, nobody's hardly watched Illinois at all.
Mm-hmm.
They beat Kansas, and if you haven't been paying attention, beating Kansas isn't that big of a feat right now. Kansas is kind of beating themselves, so it's going to be like a gut check type Saturday for Kansas this week. I know they're a dog. I forget who they're playing, but they're a 2-point dog, and if they don't win this week, there'll be a whole lot of quitters on that team. Probably the season will be over. It'll be basketball season really, really, really early. All right, Mason, let's open it up, man. Let's go. I'll give you one of mine real quick. Arkansas at Auburn, SEC matchup. Auburn started, what's his name, Hank Hill or something?
Hank. His name's Hank Brown, which I think is just the most Auburn football name out there. Hank Brown. I mean, yeah. My gosh, if that's not more Auburn, I don't know what is. But he played well. I mean, I liked what I saw out of Hank Brown. I know it was against lesser competition. Seems to be a step up from Peyton Thorne. A lot of question marks. I'm surprised you're betting on this game because I think that there's a lot of unknowns. But what's your breakdown? What's your lean here?
Well, that is exactly why I shall not bet on the spread. I'll be betting on the over-under, and I've got it at under 56.
Yeah.
I just think there'll be a lot of running the football here. You're not going to – look, Taylor Green struggled last week. It was pretty bad. It wasn't looking good. But when all else fails in a Bobby Petrino offense, run the read option. And I think Auburn is going to be able to run the football as well because where I do like Arkansas's defensive line, they're starting guys. They don't have much depth. And I just don't see either one of these teams getting in the end zone a whole bunch, man. I just really don't. I know Auburn, the backside of their defense is not very good. I get that. Arkansas. Auburn lost a couple of pretty good players on their defense from last year. So I think under 56 is the play here. I think this is a couple of sputtering offenses, and I think they're both going to be pretty happy to run the football. And at this point, Auburn will just take a 3-point win, whatever. There's no style points involved here, man. It's all about just getting out of there with the win at home. After taking a loss, look, if Cal can hold Auburn to 14 points, then Arkansas can hold them, to 24, or 28. Auburn can win the football game. I don't care. Score 28. That's fine. Just hold Arkansas to 21.
Yeah.
So I just think that there's multiple ways that the under 56 can hit on this one. At 56 is a round number. I think a push is a little more likely than what I would like, but we do this show on, later in the week, so we don't always get the exact number that we want for the show's purpose. But I'm gonna bet it anyway. I'm gonna trust my gut. My gut's gotten me to 14-7 this year. Hopefully, this will be win number 15 here. What you got, or do you have anything on that game?
I don't. I'm staying away from it. The concern for me on the over or the under, which is what you played, is the fact that these defenses haven't shown me anything. So even if they're running the ball, like Jaquinda Jackson looks great, Jarquez Hunter, I mean, we know he can be an explosive play, kind of waiting to happen. So that's kind of what my thinking in not betting the under on that one. I could see with the defensive lines playing like they've been playing, I could see, it being a run the ball type of game, but both teams end up with 180 plus yards on the ground and a few touchdowns, and it's just a little bit too lean for me. I think you're on the right side of it though, for sure. But I'm going to stay away from that one, and I'm going to go up north to Notre Dame. Notre Dame's playing Miami of Ohio at home. They're 28-point favorites, right? I'm drinking the Kool-Aid a little bit on what they did last week against Purdue, putting up 66 points. I think that the NIU loss just really woke this team up, and they said, "Look, guys, we got to play. We got to play to win. We can't play to." And speaking specifically on Riley Leonard, we can't play the style of offense that we want to play. We got to play the style of offense that allows us to win, which is Riley Leonard running the football a butt ton. And so I think that Notre Dame's offensive line has been pretty solid so far this year, considering that they've got some new pieces and things like that. I think they're playing really good football. And then we know that on the defensive side of the football, they're solid. Like I don't see, I could really see a case where Notre Dame puts up 40 and Miami of Ohio doesn't get to 10, right? That's to me, that's how it goes. You know, Notre Dame's getting a little bit over 40, and then Miami's held to 13 or less. I do really feel like this is still one of the best Notre Dame defenses in the country, and they're kind of being overshadowed by an offense that hasn't been holding up. Well, when their offense is scoring and extending drives and things like that, it only helps the defense. So to me, in this game, I think that they get out and get ahead early, put the pressure on Miami's defense, and just keep it rolling. And it's going to snowball out of control. Notre Dame's playing for style points right now too. So, you know, any game that they're completely overmatching their opponent, I feel pretty good about them and laying the points in these games, and even some over picks probably. But with that defense being so stingy, it's a little bit tough to pick the over as well.
Yeah, and you never know when somebody's going to load the box up against them. I saw that Purdue was a dog this week. I'm trying to remember who they were playing. It was somebody.
It's Oregon State. It's one of my bets I'm going to save for later.
I gotcha. Yeah, that's pretty bad if you're not favored over Oregon State after what Oregon State just put on display. I don't understand. So yeah. Anyway, I'll let you get to that here in just a minute. Vanderbilt at Missouri. Missouri is a 20-point favorite. Give me Mizzou. I tried this last week. I know I was on the right side of it. Mizzou crap down the back of their leg. I don't believe they're going to do that again. This team is going to come out and score some points. They're going to try to run it up. I think this is a good opportunity for Mizzou here at home to, again, like last week, I thought they were going to flex their muscles on Boston College and weren't really able to do it. I don't think Vanderbilt is able to exploit some of those, cracks in the armor, chinks in the armor that Bill O'Brien and that. I mean, let's face it, that smart coaching staff over there were able to figure out. Vanderbilt doesn't have the personnel nor the know-how to do it. Give me Mizzou minus 20. I expect an offensive explosion in Como.
Is that so? That is in Columbia.
It is.
Okay, I'm gonna hop on you with that. Stealing your pick, admittedly here, but you said that's at minus 20. I'm with you. I mean, you look at the game last week because I had bet them to cover last week as well. Bet Missouri to cover over Boston College, and when you look at the stat line, you would have think that they did cover, but the points just didn't pan out. I think there was a defensive score, if I'm not mistaken. I didn't watch a ton of that game, but I feel comfortable that Mizzou gets back on the right track. It's an SEC game. They've got to prove a little bit of something here because by the end of the season, this could be a close race for the not just the SEC championship, but an at-large bid in the college football playoff. Not that you can get a ton of respect from the committee by putting a whooping on Vanderbilt, who just lost to Georgia State last week, by the way. But I think that they've got to win this one. I think that they come out with a really good game plan and don't overlook a Vandy team that is probably not as good as we thought they were after a big win early in the season against Virginia Tech.
Yeah. All right. Let me throw one more out there. Georgia Tech is a 10.5-point dog to Louisville. The over/under is set at 57.5, so I'll deal with the spread here first. we haven't seen anything from Louisville at this point, and it's not their fault. It's not their fault. They haven't played anybody, but we're still going on preconceived notions with Louisville at this point, right? And Georgia Tech is a feisty little football team. I don't care what anybody says. I know they lost to Syracuse. That's why I think this is a bit of an overreaction here. Um, Georgia Tech's not a terrible football team, and while they may have some hills and valleys, this game was close last year, and there was a lot of points scored in this game last year. Georgia Tech, in a lot of ways, is the same team. I mean, they did their very best to replace some of those guys on defense. We thought that they did really good replacing those guys on defense when they played Florida State week 1. Then we figure out that Florida State couldn't fight their way out of a wet paper bag. So, with that being said, I think Georgia Tech is a decent football team, and what we know about Louisville at this point is actually their defense, and I suspect that this will be, I suspect that this will be an offensive showcase in this one. So, whereas we know that Louisville, their strength of their team right now lies on their defense, I still am going to go over 57.5. I know that's kind of contradictory, to my belief a little bit there, but I like over 57.5. This one scored a bunch of points last year, like I said. I don't think Georgia Tech has a good defense. I think they'll figure out ways to score points in this football game. 10.5, yeah, give me that plus 10.5 in this one. What, you got to play on this one?
I don't. I like where you're at. I haven't seen enough from Louisville, and I think I have a pretty good beat on Georgia Tech. But the beat is that we don't know what we're going to get week to week out of them. The offense has been really good. When they're on, they can score on anybody. I feel like they really do have some good weapons in the offense, particularly in the run game.
Really nice wide receivers too.
Right. And I think that Haynes King is playing pretty good ball right now. So to me, I like where you're at on the over, especially. I think that Tyler Shook, if he's kind of like Cam Rising, right? He might only play a half, but it might be a really good half. But if he's playing this whole game, yeah, you got two good quarterbacks that are probably going to be kind of carrying the teams, or at least the offenses on their backs here. And we could get in a little bit of a shootout between Georgia Tech and Louisville. I think that's going to be a really fun game to watch. 10.5 seems like way too many dang points. I think it's within a touchdown, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think so too. I don't think there's any one team in the ACC that's just ready to blow out other, not to say Georgia Tech's a contender, but they are kind of half, the watermark of half average to the upper half of the conference. I mean, I just don't see anybody other than maybe Miami blowing anybody out. And I see that a lot of people are picking South Florida this weekend against Miami. At least
well, why don't we go there next? Because I got to play on that game.
Well, go for it. I don't have a play, so go for it.
Yeah, I'm taking Miami. Let's see, 16.5.
Today too.
Yeah, I mean, I'm laying that. When you look at South Florida, I think a lot of people are kind of going back to the Alabama game. They're like, oh, they played them tough for 3.5 quarters. Well, which was the real which was the real South Florida team? Was it the 3.5 quarters that they played tough, or was it that last half a quarter? Because Alabama did a lot of things wrong to almost mess up and make it a true rock fight, and then hit some explosive plays at the end. I think kind of exploited South Florida a little bit there. I do think that this could be a closer game at half, but towards the end, Miami just has. They've got the roster this year, y'all. I know that we haven't seen them much. This isn't a week that everybody's going to say, oh, well, I guess Miami is going to be a contender for a national championship. But as the season goes on, I think we do end up seeing Miami similar to Tennessee, very similar rosters when you look at from top to bottom how they're built. I think that this Miami defensive line can rival Tennessee's, and that's saying a lot. I think that those are the two best defensive lines in the country. Haven't proved it yet. I'm not saying that, but by the end of the season. I'm projecting a little bit here, and I think it kind of starts this week as well. But I do think that Miami has the team on both lines of scrimmage. I think they're the best ACC offensive line by far, and one of the best offensive lines in the country and deep as well. So on the lines of scrimmage, I think that they're better than Alabama. And I think that with that, I feel comfortable laying 16.5 points over South Florida. It's at South Florida, which is kind of weird, but that's just a quick little bus ride for Miami. And I feel like their fans will show up for that game as well. So give me Miami laying 16.5. This is a game that people may want to kind of compare Miami to Alabama because they played a similar opponent. It's probably not right to do that because, I think that, like I said, that last half quarter for Alabama was more of their true colors there, and the same for South Florida. But if we get a full game of that with South Florida, then Miami's going to absolutely just steamroll them. And I think that they could win by, 24, 30 points, something like that.
Yeah, I think so too. Too many people picking Miami. That just seems like a trendy pick, and you're right. It's because of too many people picking South Florida because of what they did against Alabama last couple of years. And
and their quarterback. I mean, Byron Brown, he's playing good. He is a good quarterback. I just think this Miami defensive line is going to get to him and not really give him a chance to win it with his arm.
Yeah, I like that. All right. I'm going to this is more of a fade pick. You know how people sometimes say, in an election, I've never voted for anyone. I've always voted against someone.
Right.
Well,
right.
I am betting against Florida State until they don't give me a reason not to.
Yep.
I'm late to the party, and maybe I'm too late to the party, but you're going to have to show me otherwise. And I've got a few wins over 500 to play with here. So this is one that admittedly, if you're watching at home, you bet it if you want to. Just and that goes for any of my picks, obviously. Buyer beware. But Cal plus 2.5. What does Florida State done to be favored in any situation at this point? I mean, this is the same Cal that went to Auburn and won, right? Is Florida State able to beat Auburn? Ain't no way in hell. I'm sorry, there ain't no way in hell. Florida State is sorry as all get out. And I don't care if they change quarterbacks. I don't care what that – doesn't matter. This was never going to be a good year. It ended up being way worse than what we thought. I've heard people picking Florida State in this game. I don't know. If I'm betting this game, I sure as hell ain't going down, swinging on Florida State. I'm not dying on that hill. Give me a break. Cal plus 2.5. I like what I saw against them against Auburn. I like what I saw with them in a tough game against UC Davis earlier this year. And I'm also going to play the under 44.5. Neither one of these offenses are anything to write home about, that's for sure. Give me under 44.5. Florida State will struggle to score in this one, so will Cal probably. Yeah. So I got 2 plays, 2-for-1 special on Cal at Florida State.
I like it. I'm going to go to UCLA at LSU. LSU is a 24-point favorite. Give me all those points. I'm laying them. I think that LSU, and I'm a little bit worried about this game, if I'm honest. Actually, I can get 22.5 on that, so I'm going to change that there. 22.5. But to me, I'm a little bit worried because I'm afraid that LSU might have a little bit of an emotional hangover after a huge win on the road against USC. But at home for LSU, playing against a Big Ten opponent, like, I don't know. I feel like LSU is going to show up and play hard. I think the defense still has a little bit of a chip on its shoulder to kind of prove that they are a much better defense this year. And I think that UCLA, y'all, if you haven't seen UCLA, I don't blame you, first of all, but they're not good this year. They're not good at all. And I think that I think that LSU still has something to prove on defense. We're heading into week 4 or the 4th game under Blake Baker. I think that the defense is starting to pick up the system a little bit better, playing a little bit more comfortable. We saw them grow really in that game against South Carolina. They started playing tougher and tougher to give themselves a chance. A lot of times you look at what happened in that game and you think that the offense went out and won them the game. No, LSU's defense made some stops in that second half. I mean, I guess it is USC, but South Carolina wasn't getting anywhere in the second half and not driving the football like they were in the first half. I think that confidence spills over into this week against UCLA, and I think the offense may sputter a little bit, but for 22.5 points in a defense that probably isn't going to give up more than, I would say, 20 in this game. I think that LSU is going to be able to put up 40 plus against UCLA, and I like them to cover pretty big in this one. Some explosive plays are going to happen with Lacey. He's playing really good this year so far, and I could see him continuing that trend.
Yeah, and I think Durham will have a chance probably.
That's what I was going to say.
To get going running the football some. I got you a 21.5 at bet now.
All right, sweet.
Another point there. All right, I'm nearing the end of my picks. I wrote another one down as we've been going. We'll see how I feel here in just a second. Kansas State at BYU. Mm-hmm. Kansas State is only favored by 6.5, and I wouldn't be as interested if it wasn't at that half point. I like that half. I think Kansas State can win this by a touchdown or more.
I can get you 6, so.
Give me 6. Let's do that. That sounds great.
Yeah.
Kansas State turned a corner last week, guys, and I don't think anybody really understands. I don't think everybody really saw what went on, and Kansas State has been kind of soul searching to start the year, and I think that's where this number comes from. But I think they found something last week, especially defensively. I saw more life out of them defensively and more of the defense that I thought we were going to see out of Kansas State last week against Arizona. And I think they're going to carry that into this matchup with BYU. And I know it's going to be a good atmosphere at BYU. Everybody will be at the game. There won't be much else to do over there at BYU on Saturday night. But I don't think Kansas State is much going to care about that. I think they're going to be able to get in there and push these guys around. And I think they're going to be able to get it however they want it. So give me Kansas State -6 in that one.
Yep.
What other plays you got?
I'm locking that one up with you. I've also, similar to what you said, I think that this Kansas State team the offense has finally caught up to the defense. The defense has been playing really good, y'all. I mean, nobody's talking about them necessarily, but they're a team that's playing really physical up front. They got 2 great defensive ends. They are in the backfield every single play. And I know BYU's 3-0. I think it's a little bit of smoke and mirrors. They ain't played nobody, Mark. So I like Kansas State by a touchdown. I think it's going to play out similar to the Arizona game last week, except BYU doesn't have a Tetaroa McMillan to throw to or anybody like that. So I don't see this being a rock fight like Vegas is saying it could turn out to be. I'm laying the 6 there as well, and that's all I got except for a money line. So if you got another pick there, throw it out.
I forgot to do my money line. No, I don't have another pick. I was gonna play Michigan State at Boston College under 45. Just because I feel like Michigan State's defense has definitely taken a step forward this year. They've been in some rock fights themselves, and then Boston College last week. With the defense that they put on display last week, which against what I figure is a pretty good Missouri offense. I know Missouri didn't play their best game, I don't think, but Boston College was a big part of that. And so I think both of those teams have pretty decent defenses and could see that one going under, but I'm just going to let that dog lie. I don't know enough about Michigan State and Boston College to be betting money, hard-earned money on it.
Yeah.
If I was going to go back and change one of my picks to a money line, I'd go Utah money line. So I'll change my Utah +2 to money line. and that'll be my money line pick of the week because I've already got the over 52.5 in that. Excuse me, in that game. So I'll go Utah money line, and I'll just play the over on that over under on that game. So money
Gotcha.
line pick of the week, Utah. What you got?
I'm gonna go with that game we were talking about earlier, Purdue at Oregon State. Um, I do like what Oregon State did pretty well against Oregon last week. I thought that they played pretty tough for most of that game, but when I look at Purdue, they got absolutely pantsed last week against Notre Dame. We know that Purdue's roster is actually pretty decent. I think that they're struggling to kind of find an identity and play within the system and learn to kind of gel with each other. Just a lot of new faces. But give me Purdue at +4 in this game. But obviously I'm picking on the money line. I like them to go to Oregon State, win this game. I think Hudson Card and his leadership is going to show up and kind of win a last. I think that whoever has the ball last might win this game. I think it's going to be that close of a ball game. But I think that Purdue and the Boilermakers get a big win for that program, a big late win against Oregon State, and I think that really Oregon State's just not very good. Really didn't show up last week for the most part, considering it's a rivalry game. It didn't feel like a rivalry game, even though they did some nice things earlier in the game. I think that Purdue and potentially a CJ Smith who's coming back, they're getting healthier along the offense, and I think that they kind of take a step forward in this week and win this game against Oregon State. That's my money line pick of the week. We always have to pick an underdog on those money lines, y'all. So kind of tough to find the underdogs that we think are going to win, but obviously, there will be plenty. I just feel confident that Purdue's going to be one of them this week.
Yeah, Baylor probably would have been a good pick too against Colorado this week. That probably would be one if you're just itching to throw one on the money line. Only a 2-point line on that one. Colorado favored by 2. Not sure what they've done to deserve that. Baylor's actually got a decent little defense as well, so may cause some issues there for Colorado. Something to look at if you're looking for something on the money line, folks. Or something to sprinkle into a parlay or something. I don't know.